Hey, so we are here live. I don't know how many people will find this. I just was in the office and I decided, since we missed yesterday, I wanted to come on here and just share some thoughts. Listen, we were traveling back from an incredible trip, and not any fault of our own or any fault of the government, even believe it or not, with the flights and all that. They just got messed up. We missed our overnight flight coming back from where we were, and that way we couldn't meet any of our connections. So our whole trip got extended by one day, which we were in a beautiful place. We had a great hotel. It was fine, but it just wasn't what we planned. So I missed yesterday's live stream, which was terrible. I didn't like to do that. I just postponed it till next Wednesday, and we'll do that one next Wednesday for sake of discussion about business planning. And we've got Ashley and Lawton, and maybe Vince will be on here. We're just going to talk a little bit about that. But today I wanted to come on. I just felt compelled to come on and share some thoughts with you that are going on in my head with what in the world's going on with this industry. I got a couple other things I want to just touch on to see, tell you where I'm standing and what I'm thinking about. Because those of you that know me know that I read a lot, I study a lot, I try to figure out a lot of things. And by the way, I don't know live stream or StreamYard very well because I can't figure out the background here. If you're watching this video, you've just got the background of my office, which is fine. The lighting is okay, but I normally have a cool live stream background that my editor has put together for me, but not today. You just get to see whatever else is behind me. Maybe you'll learn something. I often do that when I'm watching someone on the screen. I'll look and see what they've got going on behind them and such. But let's just dive in today. So next week, we're going to talk a little bit about business planning. This time of year is critical as you think forward. And I just want to give you a 30,000 foot view about what is in our mind as we talk business planning. I kind of wish, like Jared James, I wish there was another name for it. Like I wish there was something else. Like it's really life planning. We call it the life you choose as we analyze what we do here in our company. And the crux of it is how do you want your life to look? And this is what Mandy and I do, like foundationally for our life. What do we want next year to look like? And the way that you do that is you think about what this year was like and how different do you want it to be, or how similar, how much bigger, how much smaller, how much busier, how much more laid back. So you figure out what you want your life to be, like how much money, the way it turns out is how much money that you want to make in order to do the things that you want to do. And then you analyze how much time it's going to take. And this is critical. How much time is it going to take to earn that money? And then what time do you have left? And is it worth that time investment to earn that money? Because that money in turn does something for you, whether it's allows you to give to charity or buy stuff or go places or pay things off or save or whatever you might do with that. But are you willing to do the things necessary? My coach told me that when he's raising his children, he just had that foundationally. That's all he asked was, what do you want? And what are you willing to do to get there? What do you want? And what are you willing to do to get there? And that's what business planning is. What do you want? And what are you willing to do to get there? And if you're not willing to do those things, then you have to make adjustments to your time and your calendar, your schedule, and all of that to figure out. So it's a balancing act, right? We're trying to figure out. So we're going to talk next week to the expert about that in our company, Ashley Lamborn, who's our director of agent development, and she can tell us what her process is specifically. And she's actually taking people through it right now because for some reason we are ruled by this calendar. Someone a long time ago said January 1st is the first day of the year, Happy New Year. And then the calendar is going to be like this. It's going to be winter here for us. It's going to be, we're in coastal South Carolina, by the way. We're going to have New Year's Day, we're going to have Valentine's, St. Patrick's Day, we're going to go into Easter, we're going to go to Memorial Day, and we just follow this holiday schedule all year, and we kind of expect this time of year for things to slow down so you can plan for next year. Frankly, I just wish there almost was no calendar and we just worked every day like we were planning to work every day, and the outcomes, the inevitable outcomes would happen. We wouldn't slow down this time of year. We wouldn't sit around and plan. We would just keep working hard and continuing to pursue our goal, because that momentum, we break it every year. Really, we sit back and we break that momentum every year with what we call business planning. But that's for another episode. So I appreciate those of you that are on here. If you want to make any comments, this is live, and I can, even though I'm by myself today, I can see your comments. We can interact. those of you that are listening. So the other thing that we're going to touch on, I just did a video on this morning, a couple of videos about it, is the priority check for your business planning and your life planning, whatever you want to call it. You have to, like, I think part of it that Ashley will talk us through, you have to look at the conversion rates in your business. Like, you have to see where your business came from, like the sources of it, and then what you did in order to get those sources as you're analyzing. And then you have to look at, in my opinion, you have to look at how good you are at converting. Like when you had we're in real estate sales, so for this example, if you had a listing appointment, how many of those did you convert, and are you getting better at that or worse? Do you need training in those areas? How many phone calls you have to make to get an appointment? How many relationships you have to start to get a sale? All those things you have to figure. But what we often forget is that we need to analyze also our priorities. Like, we say we want something. We say that we want to. I'm going to put my glasses on because I can't read that comment. Oh, hey. Hey, Alicia. That great conversation. I'm sure you was just talking with David Scott about it. That's good. I've got my glasses on. You can see my ring lights a little bit. But our priorities are important when we're talking about business planning, because, you say you want certain things, or I say I want certain things. But then, do we act in accordance with what our plan is? I'm lazy in certain areas, and I don't do what I should do in certain areas. So I was talking with someone recently that they said, it's very easy to find out what somebody's priorities are. You just look in three places. You look in their check register, which, who writes checks anymore? Well, I do on occasion. Your credit card statement, and your calendar. And then it's your actual calendar, not your planned calendar, not the calendar that you aspire to, but the one you actually accomplish. Because I know a lot of times in this business, it's tyranny of the urgent, and we're running 1,000 miles an hour, and we get interrupted, and things that we planned. I mean, workout is a good example, or eating is a good example, or appointments or whatever. We just get distracted with what we're going to do or say. And I think it'd be cool, like, if we fill out our calendars. We all do this. We all time block because our coach Ashley tells us to, right? We all time block, and we all have a plan. But how many times at the end of the day, do you ever go back and edit your calendar so that when you look back a year later, you'll see what you actually did? That's very eye-opening, because it's not, you think about it, a year later, you look at your calendar, you still have the time blocks from what you were supposed to do, but did you really do those things? I think if we edited, maybe took one time a week or two times a week to actually keep a log of what we actually did, the things, I'm saying actually a lot because my 3-year-old, that's his new favorite word. He actually does actually things, and he actually thinks it's cool when he says it. But if we went back and edited our activities that we actually did as opposed to what we had planned, and then we do a true census or a true analysis at the end of the year, and it's really overwhelming to do. You probably should do this on a monthly or maybe even a bi-weekly basis. Let me see this. What is this is a new button in StreamYard I want to see. Live comments from viewers will appear on screen during your stream. Oh, cool. That's cool. I'm going to try that, see how that works, because now I can see Alicia's comment down at the bottom. Thanks, Alicia. We do an edit, and we say, hey, this is, or an audit, I guess is a better word. This is what I actually did. And then you see what your real priorities are. When you see what you spent, sometimes it's not great. Like, this is funny. This is a personal example, but when I talk about wanting to be healthy, and I look at my calendar and I see that I had time blocked to exercise, and then how many times did I actually accomplish that, and what kind of exercise, and how good was the time I spent, and where am I eating? Like, where am I grabbing my fuel for my body? Does it match with my goal of being healthy? That's an example for me. Like with your spouse, if you aspire, this is one thing I learned on my vacation, and when I was at this this premier broker summit that we went to, the thing that I learned wasn't really business at all. It was, I spend way more of my actual time thinking and planning and building business, more of my time doing that than I do building a relationship with Mandy and with my children. Like, I don't know why, but I'm just interested. I told Mandy I'm saddened by this, but I'm interested to read a business planning book. But when is the last time I read let's be honest, Audible? When is the last time I audible to something about how to be a better husband or how to be a better father? I'm drawn to how to build a bigger company or be more effective or impactful. I'm always driven to think that way. But on my trip this week, I learned that I need to be more proactive with the other two things, or my faith. Like, how about that? Should I spend more time building my faith, and then all the other things fall in line? But I'm not drawn to that. Like, I'm not. I'm just being open. That's not naturally what I choose to do. So as I look at my time and I look at what I spend and I look at all of those things, I think that needs to be part of our business planning. It needs to be part of our honesty with ourselves. Did I because when you look at your numbers, we talk about this too, like you're going to see um, you're seeing the results of your activities. You're analyzing your results, but you have to be honest when you look at your activities. You have to look and say, hey, what did I do? And take ownership. Like, we so often we start looking at external factors. Well, I had this happen or that happen, or whatever. But just be honest with yourself and say, did my activities actually lead to where? I mean, because I can tell you what's the truth for all of us. Your activities lead exactly to where you are. If you're happy with where you are, your activities put you there. If you're not, your activities put you there also, or your lack of activities, or your distracted activities, or your misguided, or maybe depressed activities, or discouraged activities. There's reasons that we don't do certain things, and it is very complicated. But I think if we don't look at honestly what we spent, like with our checkbook and our credit card statement, and then we don't look at where we spent our time or our on our calendar, the actual time, then we don't get a full picture of these results that we have, because the results are just simply a culmination of all those other things. So, as we do that with priorities, I think that's a neat addition to business planning. The other addition that we'll talk about next week, what I have Ashley on here, is this Abelston assessment that we're able to do now with any of you that are listening to this, that can actually tell you what your behavior patterns and your motivators are, and how that affects your results. How does that affect your business, your relationships, your growth in all these areas? So, really some cool discussion points. But I wanted to hop on here today for a few minutes just to let you guys know that I'm sorry I missed Wednesday. Here we are on Thursday, just talking about a few things. So, what about what's going on in the industry? Like, um, it just seems like more than ever before, that I can remember in 20 years. It just seems like there's current events every day, almost every day. It's like that when, like, in the regular media too. Like, there seems like there's every day there's a new thing. But in our industry, I don't know if I'm just more alert or in tune to it, or if this is really what's going on. But it seems like there's a new lawsuit, like the lawsuit thing that happened with the buyers and all of the settlements and all that stuff. That was a big deal. But now, like, seems like almost every day there's something new in the news, something new in the news. And it's easy to get distracted by all those things and um, forget that we're doing, we should be doing business. Like, we should be working hard. We should be trying to find a new customer, client, a new human being to connect with. But a lot of times I'm caught up in the news. Like, when I find out that Zillow has got a problem right now with this whole idea of showing, giving preferential lead assignments, the way that I understand it, to people who have used their mortgage arm. I mean, when I first heard that, I was like, RESPA violation, where's the lawsuit? And now the lawsuit is present. Um, but I mean, when you hear something as blatant as that, and then the same week, Zillow is the first portal to be integrated into Chat GPT as a choice, which is a huge thing, which will be, all of us will be there, but they were the first. And it's a very interesting conversation to have. But they had a terrible 2 weeks, and then they had like a shining moment. Now they had another bad week in the news. Then you got news like the Compass buyout of Anywhere, and how does that affect anything at all? Like, what will be the outcome? Will the agents that are working for those other acquired companies be happy? Because we've done some acquisitions. Actually, Alicia's on the call. Was a few minutes ago, like a year ago, we merged our company and their company, and it was, no matter how great of friends we were, no matter how hard we worked to prepare and had conversations and thought we talked about all the details, there were a lot of unintended consequences that we just didn't know about. Like we weren't sure that we weren't sure what would happen. Like it was, and it there were things that we didn't like. Just, I don't know, like a small example of something in our processes that the agents in their company didn't really like or weren't comfortable with. We did something a little bit differently, and they were like, for a minute, they were like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! Why are you going to Why are you going to?" In a very kind and generous way, but why do we have to do it this way? We've never done it this way. And we said, "Well, this is how we've always done it." Blah blah blah. We had these conversations, and the point is, Compass and Anywhere can be a big celebration. Yay, yay, yay! We're growing to 330,000 agents. But I'm wondering how agents on both sides of that are going to feel about it, because now we have agents now in our company that say we're too big. There's too many people. It's not the same as it was when there were 10 or 20 of us. And we all know that growth allows you to scale and allows you to have more influence, and allows you to um, have thanks, Alicia, you're sweet. It allows you to be able to get more things and do more things and have more influence, I guess. But to the individual that feels like they're not connected, that's a problem. So if they don't feel included, like a Compass, if they go, "Oh yay, we're going to be this big," well, they need to address the fact, how are the agents that don't want to be big? They don't care about that. They don't care about scale. They don't care about, we can now give you all of our tech. Some people are not going to care. And on the other side of it, the people at the Anywhere brands, they say they aren't going to be changed. But if they're not going to be changed, why were they acquired? Why is this even being done? So some of those agents are going to be like, "Wait a minute, I don't want to be that group." So the whole point is, it's a big deal, but there's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of changes that are going to happen. There's a lot of probably people that aren't going to like it, people that are going to love it. People from the outside looking in are going to go, "I don't want any part of it." And there's this whole part of the exclusive listing too that we're going to have to address as we move forward. We got new on the news, like, is there going to be a 50-year mortgage? I mean, that means that 6 years ago, if I was born and I wrote a mortgage 6 years ago, I'd have finally paid it off. 50 years. 50 years. And how is that? How is the rate? How is it's affordability is what the driving factor is does that make it more affordable? Does that make the down payment any lower? Well, I don't know. I'm not sure what the structure is going to be. Is it going to make the payment lower? Well, it depends on how high the rate is. That rate going to be higher, I'm assuming, than a 30-year? Then what's the difference going to be? I've seen some models of $500,000 homes where it's going to be a few $100 per month. And is that big enough to stretch it out over 20 more years? Which is, who goes to a full term of a mortgage anymore? Not very many people. But that's interesting that it's in the news and it's being talked about at the world level. The rates have been talked about in the news, and the Fed cutting, and they're probably going to cut one more time. And what's the magic of getting to 5.5%, in the fives as opposed to where we are in the sixes? And there's just all of that talk in the news, and this seems like there's always something. Something came out yesterday. I saw that. FSBOs had the worst year they've ever had. Agents are needed more than ever, which is not what anybody has told us, or with the onslaught of AI, that an agent would be more valuable than ever. That's exactly what the results are showing us with FSBOs in the year that they had. So interested to see what you guys think of all of this news. Like, what in the world? What is it? How does it impact you every day, or even does it? And then I wonder if it even impacts the consumer, because that's another conversation. But does the consumer hear it, see it, know it, feel it like we do. I don't think so. But anyway, there's a lot, and there's a lot going on, and we have to be in tune to it. AI is a big deal. I mean, if you're not looking at AI on a regular basis, I'm talking about daily, trying to figure out how to maximize it. It's probably just like when the internet started and emails. I still remember you've got mail. Um, and it was a weird thing, and it was new, and I wasn't in business that then. I wasn't really thinking how can it help me in my business, but I imagine people that started realizing now they could actually send. I mean, imagine that before you could send an email, before that was a thing. Now you have a way to electronically mail all these people that before you were just calling or writing notes to, sending them actual mail. Now you could electronically do it with a push of a button. That was a big deal, and we got to figure out how do you scale that. And then somebody thought about you can start doing campaigns, and you can automate those campaigns. And now I can actually email somebody in my database rather than having to send them a postcard or write them a letter. I can send them an electronic mail, and it'll happen instantly. And I can schedule it. It'll happen once a month or once every 3 weeks or once a day. I mean, I can now do a lot of things with a lot of people that I couldn't do. It's AI is similar, but it is to the 1 millionth power. The efficiencies that you can learn. A lot of people, I think there's a lot of agents. You tell me if I'm wrong. A lot of agents, maybe a lot of human beings, and maybe I should be more this way, but I'm not. A lot of people scared of AI. And gosh, I don't want to be in there because they're just trying to get my data. They're going to take advantage of me or whatever. I think there's a lot of people with their head in the sand, and I don't know if really worried. They're really worried about it, or if they are just, that's an easy way for them to say, I'm not going to learn this new thing. It's hard. It's a new thing, but it's so big and it's so vast. And I find myself when I'm trying to learn as much as I can, and I've talked with Ashley about this, as much as I learn, there's that much more that I don't know. And almost the more I learn, the more I don't know, and the bigger it gets, and the harder it gets, and the more complicated, and the better. But I know the people that are learning how to use it, and I know Remax is at the front of that. Learning how to use it is powerful for scale and efficiency. It's not. It's interesting that we are worried about it. It's not even new information. I mean, the whole basis of AI is it is culling the information from the interweb and bringing it together. It's not creating new information. The information is already there. It's just showing us how to compile it, showing us how to organize it, showing us how to use it and speak it and talk about it, leverage it. But it's not new information. It's actually stuff that we all put in there, things that we all did, that we all taught it. It is a learned thing. It's not some creative being. You know who the only creative beings are? That would be you and me. That would be us. That would be the people that are doing the work. And that's why I think we're not ever going anywhere. I mean, the only people that are going to go is if you, I mean, it's not like you're going to have to not. I've had agents that never use social media that sell houses. You probably will be able to sell houses. There will always be a place for people that know how to sell houses, even if you don't use any of the technology. But the ones that do will do it quicker, more effectively and efficiently, and from a beach or a mountain somewhere instead of having to do it from the office. I mean, on their phone instead of doing it the way that we do it these days. So those are a couple of thoughts on industry news. I think my main focus is know it, but don't get caught into it. Don't get obsessed with it. It's like the regular media. Don't get so distracted because it's really not going to affect you that much. Um, and find customers, clients that want help now. If people don't want help now and they want to just sit around and not be worried, not be overwhelmed by all these changes or whatever, if they're not ready, then let them go or put them on a drip campaign. But if they're find the ones that are ready. There's people who are out there that are going through divorce, that are moving, kids are getting ready to go to school. Or I mean, in my neighborhood, I don't even have a neighborhood. I got like 10 people on my street. There are people that are going through transitions, and you have to be a part of that conversation. So anyway, there's a whole nother thing I could talk about that I want to talk about sometime about niche, because Jared James made me open my mind to something that I've been thinking of, but I didn't know how to put it in words. And I don't. Jared will never watch my podcast or listen to this probably, but I give him a lot of credit because I think he does. He says a lot of things, and when you say a lot of things, you're going to miss some and you're going to hit some, but you're getting a lot of opportunities, and I think he does that very well. And so I just happened to be listening to him on some occasion. Listened to his last podcast yesterday on the flight, actually, pretty cool, from the air. But this whole idea of niche, like niching down, is something I just learned in my business class. Niching down so you spend more marketing dollars per person to a targeted audience as opposed to a broad audience. Like I'm spending, let's say, $1,000 is going to go a little bit to a whole lot of people. But if I can narrow that group of people down, and at least I'm excited about coming to Thanksgiving Thursday. I can't wait. If you can narrow that number of people down, you're spending the same amount of money. It goes deeper with those people, right? So that's a thing in niching down in marketing. But Jared James said, "What is your niche?" And this is something I've been thinking and talking about for a few years. My niche is who I am. I'm most effective with people that know, like, and trust me, or can relate to me, or have had experiences similar to mine. So how do I find that niche? Well, you find the niche by knowing yourself. And that's what I've said in video before, is like there's 100% success rate in that if you learn how to be you, because no one else can be you. You're unique, and you can find, if you take the time to, I'm doing this for myself, so I know this is true. I'm talking from experience. If you find out, like, the things you've been through make you a certain way, places you've lived, experiences, like I just had an amazing trip, the things that I went and experienced, now I can talk to a different group of people about those things. And it makes me more effective than someone who didn't experience those things. So that's my niche. My niche is being Tad. Your niche, Alicia, is being Alicia. And the list goes on and on. I heard someone said, Matthew McConaughey is Matthew McConaughey. Wouldn't we all like to be that? Well, no, because I can't be that for more than one reason. But that's interesting to think through in our daily pursuit. Who are we trying to become? Are we trying to become another agent in our market that we think is really great? Or are we trying to become ourselves? I think there's a great correlation or example that you could set for people around you. Just learning how to become yourself, and we'll talk more about that. The last thing I wanted to talk about, excuse me, today, is, here we are, November, a few weeks into November, but most people don't want to talk about this because it's a little bit scary. But I'm going to challenge whoever's listening to this to know this is what we call recruiting season. Like, it's hunting season too in our neck of the woods. Like, a buddy of mine said he's going hunting for the weekend. Well, it's hunting season in our business also, because I don't know how else to say this, but business is, for someone like me, and for an owner of a company that, like, I don't list or sell, so I don't have leverage in those ways. If I had a big team, like a lot of broker owners do, list or sell, but for me, my business building and growth, and how do I get to that goal that we're talking about, that inevitable goal, if you boil it really far down, for an owner of a real estate company like me, it is the amount of money that you earn. And just like an agent, I want you to hear this, because it makes it seem transactional rather than relational, but you know who I am, and I'm relational to the max. But when you talk transactional for a minute, the way I grow my business is and evaluate my business is per agent production. For you, it's per client production. Like, when you look at your goal at the end of the year, you'll probably come up with, you had X number of transactions for an amount of volume of this. So your average purchase price is this, your average commission is all of that. and you say how many clients, well, I earn this percentage from each client, right? And that's what we do for agents. So I look at, if I had 10 agents and I'm making X number of dollars from each of those agents, 10 times X is what I have, a net amount of money to spend in my life. So that's how I evaluate my business. Well, right now, this time of year, for some reason, everybody starts goal setting, and I'm going to know pretty soon how many agents I need in my sphere, in our model, in our productivity model, to figure out how much money I will earn next year. And I think a lot of people, when they start evaluating their business plan this time of year, they go, oh, it's not what I thought. Like for me, I'm not thinking that I'll just sell this brokerage and go to another model. Like I'm not going to go say, hey, oh gosh, Real looks interesting, or EXP or Compass or Redfin or Open Door or Knock Down the Door, or whatever you want. What companies are they're out living south? Um, I'm not going to go find another model and try to leverage that model. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work with what I have and what I've built for 20 years and try to make that more effective and efficient. I'm going to try to change. I'm going to try to attract a more specific avatar. And then just telling you how I'm looking at it, more specific avatar that matches who we want to be. And by the way, I'm using AI to help me with this. Um, and I feel like for me to simple boil it down to the very simple, if I can attract more, I mean, I can. Kristen Lundy's a good example, and I don't normally point out individuals. Lori White was a good example. When those people joined our company, they matched the model of what we wanted. That was an avatar, a perfect avatar for us. And I knew if that person was here, then my bottom line transactionally would change by this amount of dollars, net. It's not as much as you would think, but it is a number. And so I realize I got to but I don't think about changing the model. I think about changing my activities within the model so that I can become better. Like I'm dialed into this one thing. And how do I have those conversations more effectively to attract? And then once an agent gets here, you will know this because this is who we are. How do we make them more productive? You can't motivate somebody. You can probably inspire them for a minute, but motivation comes from within. We've learned that. But how can we make them more effective and efficient? One example is, how do we teach them how to use AI or marketing as a service or a VA or whatever? How can we make them more effective and efficient in their business so they grow towards their goals also? So I say all of that, like that's my outlook going into 2026. But here's the truth: a lot of you listening, probably, um, a lot of you listening would be, you'll evaluate how 2025 was, which, let's be, for the past 24 months has been, the external influences have been negative. Now, notice I didn't say the market, because you are the market, and your activities, you might have had the best year you've ever had because your activities were on point, your mindset was on point, but the external outside forces have been worse than we've experienced in the last 24 months. A lot of you will consider maybe it's time to go do something different. I had a very dear friend of mine who thought this very thing last year, several years in with the current brokerage that he was with, and he said to himself, I think it might be time for a change, because this outside person was giving very attractive advice to this person, making, I won't say making false promises, probably making really passionate, believable promises of things that person has seen in their world. And this person hadn't had a great year and not had great results, and they were like, oh, maybe I should try that. So this is recruiting season. You'll get phone calls. You get them all year. You'll get them now. And I'd like to tell you, just for me, this is what I say every year. Look at two different things when you get that phone call. Because if you can't, got to put these two filters on, and then you can make a decision on whether or not to have this serious conversation. Number one is, what is your mindset right now? What is your headspace? How clear is your headspace? What's going on in your head? How positive or negative are you at the current time? What are you feeling, thinking, acting, imagining? Like, would you say, hey, I'm really strong, had an incredible year, or man, I'm really weak? Because if you're weak, you need to have your antenna up. You need to be careful because you're talking to, and I'm this guy too. Like, I'm making a lot of phone calls right now, and I'm very, very convincing. I'm a very good salesperson. I have a very good story to tell. I believe we have an incredible product, not a product for everybody, but an incredible product. And I'm very convincing when I have to sell that, just like you are when you sit in the living room to do a listing appointment. I'm the same way with what our brokerage has to offer and what I have to offer. So if you're weak, like if you're not in a strong spot, that call, that data, that offer is going to seem really, really, really impactful. It's really going to make a difference. You're going to be so tempted by it. So analyze that, because if you're weak, you need to be aware. You need to pay attention. You need to be like, oh gosh. The second thing I want you to ask yourself is, the person that's talking to you, who are they looking out for? And what is their key item of value? What are they? Well, I guess that's a third one. I should leave that as a third one. So the person that's talking to you, how much they talk about themselves, and how much do they ask you what you want? That's a big one. Like, are you weak or strong? Number one. Number two, are they offering what they have? Are they asking what I want? That's the second thing. There's a big difference there, because like what we offer, I know our key item of value, known it for 14 or 15 years now as we've defined it. It doesn't matter to everybody. And our key item of value is not going to match everyone. That's why we don't have all the people in MLS working for us. That's why we don't even want to talk to all those people. Like this morning, something's happening in one of our other markets, and I sent a couple of messages out, and I said, okay, who do I need to call? And the first response I got was, well, you need to make sure you got somebody that values the things that you value, and that and that's so true. So what are they looking for? Are they only talking about who they are, or do they ask you what you want and what you need? Okay. And I can't even remember what the third thing was now, but it was significant. That's the two that I've always harped on, is how weak are you, and what do they have versus what do you need? Do they even ask you that question? Are they looking at it from your perspective, or from, because I'll say this, even though I know some people in November, December will make a decision to come to Remax Southern Shores or Remax Professionals or Remax Essential. People will make that choice in these next 6 weeks. But I will say that most people that will get an invite to move, most people that will get a promise of what it could be like, most people that will get, hey, here's where we could head next, are focusing on the wrong thing. They're focusing on the external factors instead of the internal factors. This is a big one, but it's hard to put your mind around. But I could be successful. I really believe I could be successful in my role for almost any brand. And I say almost any because there's a couple that I think are broken, but most are not. Like most, I could be successful. I can win in almost every one. Now, am I glad that I'm with the one that I am? Yeah, because it allows me to win faster and with more of an influence and an impact, certainly worldwide, no question. But I could go anywhere because of my internal work ethic and focus. Like I'm not looking at it, and most people don't think they are, but I'm not looking at it as a, what can you do for me? What can you do for me? And when you get that phone call and you're having this conversation, That's what I want you to pay attention to is are they looking at what you can do for them and what they can do for you? And how are you approaching it? What can you give me? What can you promise me? How can you make me feel, as opposed to, I'm going to get in there and I'm going to work and I'm going to make it happen. And you can be a part of it or not. You don't want to be a place that's going to hinder you. But I'm going to speak to the people that are at our organization right now. If you're feeling like you're not getting what you need, I mean, here's the way to evaluate it. You've done your business plan. You figured out what you want. You know the time that you need to spend to do it. And you got to do the daily activities to get, and you just don't feel connected, or you don't feel like you're getting what you need. Well, if you're in any organization, you feel that way, you need to raise your hand and say, hey, this is what I need. And if you can't get it from where you are, it's time to make a change. But what I'm saying today is most of the time when you have that conversation, you could get what you're looking for where you are if you were willing to work for it. And a lot of times people make a change because they feel like it's going to come easier. They're going to give me leads, easier. They're going to give me a better split, easier. I don't have to come into the office. They don't expect office hours, easier. They allow me to work strictly from home, easier. So most of the time, the people that you're talking to are going to make you an easier offer. And I'm just saying, beware of that. especially, listen, especially if you've got longevity where you are. Like, it blows my mind to see these people that have been somewhere for so long, and then they just make a change because there's something new. And I'm not saying you shouldn't make a change, because listen, Blockbuster should have, right? They should have, and they didn't. They were so devoted to their model. But if you've been with a place, the average length of time at a brokerage or a brand is like 6 years. If you've been anywhere close to that or longer, think about what it says to your client. Like, you might pitch it to them, I'm going to better myself in business, so I'm going to make a switch over here. But they're used to you where you are. They're used to you with whatever colors your brand is, or whatever name you have, or whatever. They're used to you there. So this guy I was talking to last year, I didn't even bring this up to him, but while we were talking about it, because I was not trying to guilt him into anything, but I'll do it now because I'm not talking specifically to one person. That needs to be part of your evaluation. You need to say to yourself, what am I leaving? What legacy? A legacy means something. Longevity means something. Whenever I have an agent that's been with our company for 5 years or more, I always send them something like this in a message. I'll say, in a world where loyalty, longevity, and professionalism aren't held in as high esteem as they should be, I want you to know that I respect all three in you. Something like that. Because I want those people to know that loyalty, longevity, and professionalism matters. And it matters to me, but guess who else it matters to? Your customers and clients. It's just like you wouldn't, like, if you went to buy a car and you're at a Cadillac dealership and you ask the salesperson, how long have you been here? Well, it's my third week. Where were you before? Well, I was with GMC, and then before that I was with Ford, and I did a little bit with Chevrolet. I mean, you're not thinking, oh, he's got a broad knowledge of cars. You're thinking, why is he switching so much? Why is she switching so much? Why? What was it? And you ask the question like, why have you hopped around a little bit? They'll say, well, I was just looking for something better for myself. I'm trying to better my career. And then you say, why? Well, because I can get leads over here and make more money or whatever. But that matters to people is all I'm saying. And before you leave something, evaluate that. Ask yourself, have I given it all I could give it? Have I honestly talked to who I could? I know a lot of people just get embarrassed with their performance and they want to switch because they just haven't done good, and the new person is telling them this great thing and they want to go and run to it. But don't run. I'm just talking to people that have been 5 years or more with the place. Just be careful that you can't double down. Now, it has to be apples to apples. Like, if you are at a non-branded place and you're looking at going to a branded, let's just say you're at, I don't know, I was going to make up a name, but I can't even make one up. But you're a place that doesn't have a national or even a regional or worldwide, certainly brand. I've been there for 6 or 7 years, and you're looking to go to Remax or Coldwell Bank or somebody that's got a name that people know. I think there is something to that. Like if you're going to make a switch because you want to have a worldwide referral platform, that's worth talking about. But in most cases, if you're making a parallel change, just ask yourself, what am I leaving? Because you don't know until you know. This is why every year we have 8, 9, or 10 people that will come back to us after they've left us, because they say the grass is only greener where you water it. But you go somewhere else and realize that what they told you wasn't true. They don't have the staff to support you, like they said, and the leads are in a pond that has mildew on it rather than, algae on top, rather than perfect pond that they told you it was going to be. So, anyway, I've been on the soapbox for a little bit, but there's things that were on my mind. This is that time of year, and the last thing I'll end with this. I said it this morning on our staff meeting. This is my favorite time of year. Holidays are incredible. You get to reflect on a lot of things seasonally that you don't get to reflect on during the year. We usually slow down a little bit. We eat too much. We get to see family and friends. But all those things, even though they're great for me and they feel great, they can bring a lot of sadness. There'll be people around you don't even know it that are sad this time of year. They've lost a love, like I've lost both my mom and dad in the last 5 or 10 years. I miss them more during the holidays. There are people going through tragedies right now. They're going through loneliness. They're going through struggling with addiction, struggling with depression, and for some, financial, physical fitness, any of that stuff at the holiday season. For some reason, just like your joy is magnified if you're a happy person like me, that sadness is amplified during the holiday season. And I want you to miss that. I want you to pay close attention to the people that are around you and how they're doing. Don't let them be depressed. Don't let them be sad. Do what you can to lift them up. Focus on somebody other than yourself, somebody that might have it not quite as good. Imagine, I can't imagine this because of the beauty of my life that I've been blessed with. But there are people that don't have anybody to spend Thanksgiving with or Christmas. And could you invite those people into your home, or could you make a phone call, or could you reach out and care about that person? I bet you could. Because just don't let it be lost on you that this time of year, when emotions are amplified, and another thing, a lot of people don't want to be with their family. Family's stressful. They hate getting together this time of year because they're going to have to see the brother or sister that lives in a different part of the country, that believes different political things or religious things or whatever. And it's just going to be weird. I did a video last year about what you don't talk about at the holidays. You just vow not to do it, and it'll be better for you. But just remember that not everybody's feeling an immense amount of joy this time of year. It is a time where all emotions are amplified, loneliness included. Depression, sadness. Don't miss those people, right? Don't miss the opportunities to lift those people up. I'm glad that you were here for this episode. This is what they call a solo episode of Rise Up in Real Estate, and had only a little bit to do with the real estate, as most of my chats do. And I appreciate you being here. Rise Up Nation, I love you and respect you and appreciate you. I hope that you find value here. And don't miss next week when we have a live stream next Wednesday, where we're going to talk about the ins and outs of business planning and how you can inevitably live the life of your dreams. So signing off, this is Tad with Rise Up in Real Estate. Rise Up Nation, have a great holiday season, and we'll see you guys next time.
Well, hey, that's a wrap, folks. Thank you so much for listening to Rise Up in Real Estate. If you liked hanging out with us today, please find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Rise Up in Real Estate. Also, follow us right now on your favorite podcast host to hear more episodes. We really appreciate you spending some of your time with us. And until next time, let's do each other a favor and all help each other rise up.